Our Bible reading this morning is from Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. It's titled, Pleasures Are Meaningless. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness, and what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers and a harem as well, the delights of the man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labour, and this was the reward for all my toil. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun.
Life is a journey of winding roads and unexpected turns. In the midst of uncertainty, God walks with us, offering purpose and hope. Together, we explore what it means to be mastering the art of living.
I don't know about you, but I kind of love bubbles. They're awesome, aren't they? They're beautiful. There's that little shine the light gives them. They sort of float there, carefree. There's just something about them, and they're particularly helpful when you have kids that are really upset and you need to distract them very, very quickly. They're great. The only problem I have with bubbles is the fact they just don't seem to last all that long. They're sort of here, but then pop, they're gone. I mean, maybe if I took one of David Lucan's lectures in bubbleology at Science Space, I may understand what chemical stuff I could actually put into to make them last a bit longer. But if I'm right, that they can only last so long. Is that right? More or less? Thank you. But I do wonder, I do wonder sometimes, as you're sort of sitting there trying to get the kids to sort of focus on bubbles, as they look at them, and I look at them, I do wonder, what if they weren't so limited? What if they could just keep going forever? Where would they go? What would they do? What would they see? But eventually, they pop. I think it's the same for us as well, that we have this thing that we know we have a limited amount of time. We can only live for so long, but we do daydream and wonder, what if? What if we could just live for, more time? What if we just had more time? What could we do? What could we achieve? What could we do? What could we see? What could we have? What is the potential we could actually reach if we just had a bit more time? There's the flip side as well. Some people very quickly actually achieve the potential and wonder, what on earth should I do now? I had a friend after high school that this wasn't too untypical of people at my high school who actually had his whole future just given to him moments after he graduated. He had a property, he had a car, he had the dream job, everything he ever wanted to. And I remember the phone call with him saying, I don't know what to do with myself now. I've got it all. What do I do? It was just given to him and he didn't know what to do with himself. It's no surprise actually that our happiness score, if you look it up on the internet, you can actually see the happiness score in Australia has completely dipped and has been going on a downward trend since 2013. Each year, down a little bit, yet for some reason that doesn't seem to make sense, because each year don't we get a bit more ability to do what we're supposed to do? We make things simpler for ourselves so we have more time, so we can get more done and have more fun. We have more opportunity, but our happiness just keeps going down. YOLO, that attitude of life, you only live once, often leads to FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. But both YOLO and FOMO just don't lead anywhere at all. We are starting this year in January as a church looking at mastering the art of living. It is a new year. It is 2025. It's a beginning. It's time to set the goals ahead. And we want to help you, especially if you're someone who has been brought here by a friend or family member, to help you understand and have a good foot forward for the year ahead. We are looking at this morning mastering the art of living. And in our passage that was just read out by Dave just before, we have a teacher who is looking over all the things he's had. He's accrued everything. He's done everything. He's achieved everything. He has seen so much. Yet he has this awful, depressing thing that he says over and over, that even with all this, there is nothing new under the sun. The teacher is trying to help us see and warn us from his example that misplaced efforts into places that aren't worthwhile will only ever bring emptiness and despair. The warning, I think, comes from this particular passage where if we end up here, something has not gone well. So I hated my life because the work that is done under the sun is grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave it to the one who comes after me. I've done so much, I've achieved so much, but I know my time will end and then I won't get to experience it, and it'll be passed on to the next, and I'll be long forgotten. It's the wrestle with the limit of time that we have. And this morning we're going to look at 3 areas, and I know there's a spelling mistake. I was told after 8 a.m. Thank you very much. We're going to look at comfortably numb to the problem that we have. Then we're going to look at the uncomfortable problem and then the real solution. YOLO and FOMO. It's a wrestle that we have in this short life. It comes out of that wrestle that we have. We have a short life. We need so much that we want to get done. We want to live for that moment. We want to achieve everything we can. And as we see other people doing some of those things, we get the fear that we're going to miss out on what life has to offer us. We do so much. We see so much. We have so much. And it results in this constant tension of feeling FOMO and YOLO all at the same time. We try to ease this tension by chasing after as many things as possible, because maybe we'll reach the end and maybe we'll get as close as we can. The teacher is reflecting over this. He's musing over life. He's thinking about all that I've achieved. What is it for? What have I done? In verses 3-9, it talks about how he became the greatest. He was a king. He was so wise. He had so many things. He built so much. He was the greatest, and therefore, in verse 10, he rewards himself. Because after you've worked hard, it's just right to reward yourself. You've got to treat yourself to what you've earned. He's gone out, he's tried to find himself, and he's managed to manifest for himself the best life he can. He's manifested wine, he's manifested the ability to just live in the moment, which so few of us get to. He gets to spend time on just building things like vineyards and other stuff. He gets to create. He gets to become that boss that he knows he should be. He's owning it. He's living it, and it's his, and it's all his reward. My wife Lisa and I don't agree on much things music, but one thing we do, and one person we do agree on, is the great John Mayer. This picture is from his concert, a really great concert in 2008. It's probably the real pinnacle of his career. He was this young guy with a guitar that all of a sudden exploded from who was more of a pop singer to now he's getting all bluesy, and people are starting to take notice. He's made so much money at this point. He's dating Jennifer Aniston, one of the big actresses at the time. He's won 6 awards for his music. And his notoriety and his ability and the money and his fame have meant that he now is able to play alongside some really big names in music. And there's a quote whenever Lisa and I listen to this concert that comes up, and it always shocks me, and I can't help but scoff. During a song, he sort of stops and starts explaining life to people. And he says this: "I'm in a good place. I pace myself real well. I've seen some cool stuff, made a lot of stuff happen for myself. I made a lot of things happen for myself," right? That's a really cool sentence when you're in your 20s. I made it happen for myself. At this point in time, John Mayer has one life. He's achieved everything. This is the pinnacle of all that he can be. He has won, and it feels great. He's achieved as much as he can in the short life that he has. So just like the teacher, he's won, right? He's won at life. He's in this really great place. Well, if you look at verse 11, the teacher doesn't feel like he's won. In fact, he feels like he's lost. As the teacher looks over all that he has done, all that he's secured, all that he's experienced, he says, "Yet when I survey all that my hands have done and what I have toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun." Can you imagine feeling that? Coming towards the end of your life, whenever that may happen, and looking back on everything that you've built, everything that you've achieved, your career, your family, trying to make the best possible opportunity for everyone that you love, trying to just be the best version of yourself. And then when you look back at it, you get this sense of dread. It was all meaningless. The whole time you're looking in the wrong places. You were just chasing after the sun. The point that the teacher is trying to make is that everything is hevel. Hevel is the Hebrew word that lies behind the English word meaningless. And it's really significant. It's how you understand this letter. It's the idea that it's here and it's gone. I'm using bubbles because I don't think the wardens would allow me to smoke up here. But the actual word, it means smoke. It means vapor. It's here and it's gone. And no matter what you do, you can't grab it. It just sort of slips through your fingers. You can't control it. Trying to live in this hevel-like world where things seem so meaningless and out of control and with this limit always over our heads can be so distressing and depressing. So how do we cope with that? If this is what our life is like, if there's a chance that we can look back on things where everything's meaningless and just chasing after the wind, what hope does the teacher have for us to get through this? Well, he does what we do. He tries to cheer himself. He wants to become comfortable with this limited amount of time by distracting himself with everything else he can have. He chases after happiness just like we do. And just like he is good at it, we are amazing at doing that. We are fantastic at numbing ourselves to the real problem at hand. We are fantastic at distracting ourselves by the limit that we have in this world. And in the end, it's all meaningless. It's just chasing after the wind and not gaining anything. In a biblical context, YOLO and FOMO doesn't really fit the world that we have. It doesn't fit the world that God created because it assumes a bunch of stuff which I don't think are biblically true. One, it assumes one short life. We try and get as much as you can in right now because you only live once. And it seems to also assume that the point of this life is to get as much as you can, not to miss out on anything. That's the game. If you can miss out on the less, then you have one life. But why is it that we can't help but want to distract ourselves and make ourselves comfortable and numb to the real problem? Why is it that we look for all these distractions and help and happiness in the wrong places? In Genesis 2, humanity is described as a being that is set to live forever with God. God will sustain them. He provides for them. He gives them purpose. Their whole purpose is to be God's image, to reflect his goodness back to God and to each other. But what went wrong is that sin entered the world. Because of sin, we lose our purpose. Because of sin, we lose our reason. Because of sin, we lose our direction, morality, and identity. We're sort of left wandering around, guessing, following a broken compass or a broken metal detector, trying to find what we're supposed to do in this life. Sin is defined as being apart from God, to decide what is good and evil, apart from what God decides what is good and evil. It is also the inability for us to even choose what is right in the first place. And as much as we may want to distract ourselves from it, as may as we want to be as comfortably numb from the real problem as we try to be, we know it's true. We feel its effects. We know deep down there's a yearning that we have. Deep down we try to be good, but we always have a limit to what we can do, and we often cause more problems than we solve. And we see the effects of sin in the world around us. Just look at the news. Whenever you look at it, there's a new example of why this world is broken. For the teacher, you can see this because just like John Mayer, he did everything for himself. Everything he had, everything he built, everything he bought, everything he experienced was all for himself, and none of it was ever going to last. The Bible teaches that only things like love, hope, and faith will last. These will last eternally because they come from God. These are the sort of things that we are to pursue over all things because they last for eternity. They give us true meaning and our true purpose in life. So we could continue just, getting comfortable and just ignoring the problem at hand. But as we've learned from the teacher, that goes nowhere, even if it feels good for a certain amount of time. The solution isn't actually found in what the teacher is teaching here. There's another character in the book of Ecclesiastes that comes at the end. It's sort of this narrator has let the teacher constantly talk about all these musings he has on the futility of life, and then the narrator comes in and summarizes it and actually gives the conclusion. The narrator says that here is the real meaning of life. Now all has been heard, being what the teacher has said, and here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. The key to life isn't not missing out. The key to life isn't trying to experience everything now and manifesting the best life that you can for yourself. The key to life is to fear God, to recognize that he is so much greater than you. He is your creator, and you are his creation, and you sit under him. And the whole point of your life is to live his way. In that is a warning, because we fail so hard, find it so hard to do that. The warning is we find it so hard, but the real solution is that God sent his son in the flesh into our mess to rescue us from it. How did he do that? He did that. How do we do that? We accept this by believing in the one who sent him, the one that was sent, because Jesus lived a perfect life. Although we live a disobedient life, he lived a perfect life so that when God judges us at the end of our lives, because of what Jesus has done, he sees Jesus' life, not ours. He judges based on Jesus, not us. So what are we to believe? How do we go from, okay, this is something I kind of get, but how do I actually believe it? How do I live it out? How do I transform my life? The simple is to believe. To believe in Jesus' death and resurrection. Jesus died so that we could be saved, so that we could be healed, so that we could live for God and live a life of meaning, purpose, and value, the way it was always supposed to be. For myself, I remember feeling this exact feeling myself when I was 25. I had been playing what I call the guessing game of life for so long. I tried to lead my own life, and let me tell you, I sucked at it. I was lost. I was trying to find acceptance. I was trying to find meaning in all the wrong places. There were usually partying, relationships, and an atheism as well. And I resonate so much with what the teacher has to say. It's part of the reason why, for me, Ecclesiastes is one of my most favourite books of the Bible. I resonate with the futility of life, that you can try and have so much, but it really doesn't bring anything. It's just meaningless. It's just chasing after the sun. But since putting my faith in Jesus, since trusting in him, a life that was meaningless and going in the wrong direction has now taken on full meaning, and I now understand my value and the direction I'm supposed to be in. I'm not guessing anymore. I know that I have assurance of eternity, not because of anything I've done, but because of what Jesus has done for me. And I know that because of this, all of my priorities in life find their better place. When Jesus is at the top of your life, when Jesus is the most important person, everything else finds its right place. I don't feel FOMO anymore. At least not as much. And I remember telling someone that not long after I became a Christian. Someone who was confused, and I really wanted to understand how amazing Jesus was. They were wrestling with it. And I said, let me tell you this. I've experienced so much. I have done so many things, and a lot of them I'm not proud of. And they were fun, but they are nothing compared to being a follower of Jesus. They are nothing compared to what Jesus has done for my life. And that shocked that person as much as it shocked me telling them that at the same time. So don't get to the end of your life and think that it is meaningless. Don't get to the end of life and see that all that you've done, all that you've built, all that you've achieved has been for nothing. It's just chasing after the wind. Stop numbing yourself to the problem at hand. The one you know deep down is there and is niggling at you day after day after day. If you can feel something in your heart right now, your heart is racing, there's something going on, let me encourage you to keep coming back the next couple of weeks. We're going to continue talking about this for the rest of this month. Because all we want to do is share the hope that we have. All we want you to do is to share the real solution to life, which is in Jesus Christ. We want you to live for him, to master the art of living, because he is the master of our lives. And we want to celebrate with you when you give your life to Christ, because not just us here will celebrate as one person, even one person gives their life to Christ, but all of heaven celebrates at that moment. It is that important and it is that amazing. Let's pray. Our loving Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your Son. We thank you that in Jesus, that our life is not meaningless. It's not hevel. We have the assurance of eternity with you. That we know that when we put our trust in Jesus, we can be placed face to face with you for all eternity. I pray for anyone here wrestling with the shortness of life, wrestling with the promises of this life that just don't seem to make sense. They don't give the payout they're supposed to be. They don't live up to the hype. I pray you're working in them, drawing them to yourself, and help them to find that the real solution is in your Son. We pray this in your Son's name. Amen.